Hello everyone, welcome back. It has been a long time and I'll get into the details of it later on because I know not everyone is interested in hearing about my life. But we're finally back with a new video in a different location because I'm currently down south in London visiting some friends of mine and also cat sitting. So their cat Aquila might make an appearance at some point. But I really wanted to film in this location because I think their apartment is just beautiful. It's a converted church. I didn't know that happened, but apparently it does. So when my friend went the first time I ever came to visit her and she was like, yeah, look for the church. We live in a church now. And I was like, you're not exactly religious people. What are you doing living in a church? And she was like, no. It's been like converted. I was like, that makes a lot more sense. But yeah, so I really wanted to show off the windows and the beautiful brick wall, but it does mean my lighting is artificial right now because otherwise you wouldn't see me because it's still light outside. But I was like, we'll make do. It will be a relatively short video for me anyway because I can only show you what I've brought with me and what I've bought while in London. But I've been gone for quite a while. It's been a long time since I've recorded a video. Like I said, I will leave all of that pretty much for the end, or like I did with my German video, I just kind of interspersed it into... I might just mention bits as I go. But the biggest thing to say is I have submitted my thesis and I'm now just waiting for my Viva. So I have to defend my thesis now that it's submitted, and that's happening next week. So I've been relaxing, I've been knitting a lot, I've been walking a lot, I've been enjoying good food, and especially here in London, that's quite easy to do. And of course I've been knitting and buying. I think I already said I've been knitting, but I've also been buying yarn. Of course I have. Let's start with what I'm wearing. I've shown this off before. This is the Pure Fuzz by Ellie from Scandia Knits. I used Drops Flora and Drops Kids Silk. You knit it with a fingering weight garn, so that's the Drops Flora that I used, which I got in a D-stash, and 2 strands of merino, because you're meant to use a fingering weight merino. I didn't have one, and I didn't want to buy more yarn, and I was like, well, I have plenty of this Drops yarn. I think it's called Lavender, actually. I was like, I can make it with this. So it is a slightly cropped one. It's got like these beautiful, amazing shoulders. Oh, we might get... No, he's not keen. He literally just at the end of the German video jumped up. So if we give him a break, he might come up later for anyone who's interested in cats. But yeah, so this jumper ended up being quite cheap because I also got the yarn in a D-stash, and Drops already isn't that expensive. But it's quite oversized. It's a bit cropped. But my favourite feature is just the way that the 2 yarns play together. If it will focus. There you go. So the Mohair is that more like vibrant lavender lilac color, and the darker yarn that you can sort of see in the background is the fingering weight one. So it's just really interesting how they play together, because from a distance it looks like one color, and when you get closer you can see that they don't match perfectly, but it doesn't. With the halo of the Mohair, kind of just blends together nicely. I've worn this a few times, but I don't wear it all that often because I don't like how wide the neckline is. I don't think that's the pattern design's fault. I think I just was too loose. So what I'm thinking of doing is potentially, I think it did start... Did I pick up stitches? I might have picked up stitches. If I did, easy, because then I can just undo the whole bit. I've got more yarn as well. And I might just drop 1 or 2 more needle sizes and maybe also decrease a couple of stitches because I don't like them when the neckline is that wide. I prefer it up here. But that's kind of why I don't wear it too often. And it's cropped like the design is meant to be, I think, because I was worried I wouldn't have enough yarn. But also because I did kind of think it would be nice over dresses and skirts. And now I've also been wearing it with dungarees, because I've got some amazing dungarees I'll show off. Probably in another video I'll wear them. But it's the perfect kind of length to either just chuck over the top of some dungarees or even wear inside the dungarees. So I did that the other day, actually. That's what I'm wearing. I am not going to show you anything you've seen before. I have knitted a lot, but like I said, I'm currently visiting friends and, well, currently I'm cat sitting, but they'll be back at some point. And so I didn't want to bring anything. I didn't even know I was going to film, but I'm glad I am. But let me show off the first thing that I've got with me that I finished since I've been here. This is the Primavera by Rachel from Unwind Knitwear. The colour is not coming off accurately at all. It's much more pink than the kind of red you're seeing, or at least that I'm seeing in the camera. But I can't remember the names of the colours, but the yarn is by Waco yarns. It's a sample piece I've knitted for Lydia. And so I was gifted, well, is it really gifted the yarn if you then just send it back? But it's their yarn. And as you can see, it's a colourwork jumper. It's knit top down. And it's also got colourwork in the sleeves and colourwork at the bottom of the body. Took me quite a while. Now, I think the colourwork turned out really beautifully. The colours play really well together. Can't remember the names of the two colours. I'll try to link it below or like blend it in. But it's fingering weight yarn. It's a BFL silk base. And I really enjoyed the colourwork, especially the sleeves. I love sleeve at the bottom. I love colourwork at the bottom of sleeves. There we go. And that was a lot of fun to do for both of them. I haven't blocked it. I'm going to let Lydia do that to see after she's tried it on how it fits her. But I have steam blocked it just to kind of help the stitches smooth out a bit. So the colourwork looks a lot better than it did before. I did lose motivation in the yoke. So this all took me way longer than I wanted it to. I was in Austria towards the end of August until about mid-September or so. Just checking where the cat is. And I got through the first bit of the colourwork really quickly, and then it was the last bit where you've still got some increases to do and you've just got so many stitches. I was just losing motivation and put it aside for quite a while. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Lydia did say not to stress about it, but I wanted it done as quickly as possible for her. So I then split the sleeves from the body, did a bit of the body, and then immediately went on to the sleeves, and they didn't take me that long. I did take a break between the first and the second because I just forgot to pick up the stitches. But then that went really quickly, and then it was just mindless stockinette. I was using helical knitting, alternating skeins here. I didn't in the yoke because with the colourwork it's just way too hard, but I did in here. Finished off the colourwork at the bottom, and then the ribbing. Now the ribbing is twisted ribbing, and it has a folded collar as well. And they get you to, so Rachel gets you to also twist the pearl stitches, which I did. Also in the sleeves. Didn't do it in the body. I only knitted the knit stitches twisted, but I don't think you can really tell because you're only ever going to see that on the outside anyway. But anyway, so I screwed that up. Sorry, Lydia. But yeah, it was fun to knit. I don't think I'll make another one because there's very few patterns I like knitting more than once. And this is why I like knitting for other people, because I get to knit the thing, get all the enjoyment of knitting it, but then just get to get rid of the garment without feeling guilty because someone else has to wear it and deal with it. So I like knitting for other people. Sample knitting is nice because you typically then also get paid in yarn as a thank you. But I also just enjoy gift knitting for the same reason, because I just want to get rid of it once I'm done. I'm a process knitter, not a product knitter. So it did take quite a while, but it was enjoyable other than kind of losing steam during the yoke because it was just so much colour work. But Rachel is just an absolute genius with how she designs her patterns, because normally you get a jog with your colour work because your first stitch of your round is going to sit lower than the last stitch of your round. Rachel takes that into consideration, and so the first few stitches of your colourwork motif, which aren't in any way joined to the other bits, are just slightly shifted. You do the colourwork later, one round later, so it matches up really nicely with the round before. I think she does this with all her colourwork patterns, and it's just amazing. I'd never seen anyone do that before, and it's something that sort of annoyed me about other things where you have one point in your colourwork yoke where it just doesn't match up and everything's shifted, and it's just, ugh. It doesn't always look awful, and it's typically, you know, somewhere in the back where no one's really looking, or you're not looking. But it's frustrating knowing it's there. But yeah, so that's all done, and I will, now that I've filmed and shown it off, send it off to her. So keep an eye on their Instagram account, because you'll see Lydia wearing it at some point. And also just their yarn is just gorgeous. I'll be showing off some of the yarn later on. So that I literally just finished a few days ago. I did want to give it to her at a yarn show that I went to. Didn't get a chance because I still have to do the ribbing. But it's okay. I'll just send it to her now. The next thing is something I started quite a while ago and never shared because, well, I just wasn't active on anything, was I? But I've made quite a lot of progress on it now. So I finished that jumper, was working on something I'll share after this one, but I've just been working on this one for the last 2 days and I've just really enjoyed it and I've just been breezing through it. This is the Illuminate sweater by Andrea Mowry. So this is her Rhinebeck sweater for 2021. And like I said, I started pretty much soon after the pattern was released. I knew immediately, I was like, I need to knit this. It's knit with sport weight yarn, and the contrast colour here is Surrey Held Double, and I already had it in my stash. So the one that I'm using is Cumulus by Fyberspates. Whoop. If it will focus, please. There you go. Which is a 74% baby Surrey alpaca, 26% mulberry silk, in the colour silver green. To me, that looks blue. But sure thing, that's the name of the colour. And I had quite a few of this that I bought in a D-stash because I love Surrey, and I was like, I'm going to find some use for it, even if it's just for like hats or mittens or something. And I had a decent amount of that colour, and I was like, oh, well, that could go quite nicely. And then with the colour that it was, I was like, I think it has to be a blue as the main colour, which is what I did. And that's also a commercial yarn by BC Garn. And this comes in 50 gram balls. The Surrey comes in 25. Oh, there's a kilo. You got a little peek of them. So you need quite a few skeins because this is only 50, the Surrey is only 25, but you hold the Surrey double, and I'm choosing to hold 2 of them together instead of going inside and outside of the same ball because Surrey is sticky and it's just a mess otherwise. But yeah, so I finished the colourwork quite a while ago now. I breezed through the first half, then finally finished off the second half, and then it took me a while to get through the last part, but then even that, I say it took me a while, I still went through it quite quickly when I should have been knitting on other things. But I just couldn't stop. It was just so addictive. For the most part, there's no long floats. There's a few points where you've got more than 5 stitches where you do have to catch it. And now I'm just on the body and doing stripes. So for anyone who's knitted stripes, you probably know how addictive it is. Because each stripe is, I think, 5 rounds. And I just can't stop. I'm like, oh, just a little bit more. Oh, well, I've done like 3 rows. I might as well keep going and switch to the next colour soon. So I've done, I think it was the body I did yesterday, and I've done some today as well. So I'm hoping that will be done relatively soon. The body at least. The sleeves will take me a little while. Because once again, I have no need to finish this quickly. I'm just enjoying knitting it so much. I love Andrea Mowry's patterns. But yeah, so that's something I've actually been working on for a while, but only picked up again recently. And the bag I'm keeping it in is by the Fibre Fox, which I've shown many times before. I think this came with an advent calendar last year. And we're almost approaching the season where the next one, where the advent calendar for this year will arrive. But with yarn shows and Georgie being ill, she said there's been a few delays, but I'm like, understandable. I don't need it before the 1st of December anyway. And the other project that I have been making progress on, because I sort of have to, is a gift knit. And the reason I'm trying to get this done as quickly as possible is because it's for a friend of mine who lives in the UK. And I don't think I've mentioned, but I've got a postdoc lined up in Germany. So I am moving to Germany very soon. Hence me being in London to see some of my friends, but also why I'm trying to knit as much as I can for other people right now, so I don't have to send it from Germany, because it's just a pain trying to figure out, like, how much do you say it's worth when the cost, you want to cover the cost of the yarn, but then it's actually worth more because of all the time that you spent on it, and it's just something I don't want to think about. So I want to get it done soon. So it is the Spice Cardigan by Andrea Mary, and the two yarns that I'm using are both by West Yorkshire Spinners, and it's the Croft DK, so it's Shetland wool and DK weight. And I'm using the green as my contrast colour and the blue is my main colour. So like I said, this is a gift knit for a friend of mine, and he knows he's getting a cardigan. He doesn't know what cardigan or what colour. So I don't think he'll watch the video. If he does, oh well, he spoiled it for himself. It's knit bottom up, as you can see, and I've already done the two sleeves. I didn't bring them with me. I was like, oop, I've got a cat on here with me. Hello, what are you doing? Sleeves are done, so now I just need to knit about an inch more of the body before I put in, I think she calls them lifelines, for the like afterthought pocket that comes in. So you've got two pockets in the front, and then I'll keep knitting until I reach the length to the underarm, join the sleeves. I'll have to do that in York, which is why I brought the Illuminate sweater with me. But clearly I'm not at adding sleeves yet, so I should be knitting on this. I just wanted a break from colour work. But yeah, so then you join the sleeves, you do the neck shaping, and then you cut it open. So it is a steeked cardigan. I love steeking, so I kind of wanted to make sure that I knitted him a cardigan which had to be steeked. I'm just trying to steek as much as I can right now. And then you put in the like collar and the neckband and stuff. So I'm making pretty good progress on this, and not chewing the yarn, Mr. Aquila. He's pretty good with not chewing the yarn. It's only when I move it around that he's like, oh, this is exciting, it's moving. But yeah, so I knitted the sleeves really quickly once I got back from Austria, and then kind of started the body, I think, while I was on the train to London, and have just been working on it after I finished the Primavera, but then just needed something a bit easier, which is why I'm working on the Illuminate sweater. You're still sitting here. See you, kitty. And then I've got one more project that I've got with me, because, you know, when you're down south for even just, I think I've been here slightly over a week, you can't just have one project, two projects. I did finish one. So you bring four. Let me just look up again what this was called. This is from 52 Weeks of Shawls, and it's called Through Alstad by Anna Strandberg. And currently does not look like much, even though it's already quite big. So this is what I've got so far. It's so bunched up. But eventually what will happen once I've reached the correct stitch count, and I'm getting there, I think I have like 20 more rows, maybe a bit more, you get these kind of snowflake patterns at the end, which I'm really excited for. But currently it's just a double moss stitch that I've been knitting. So it's been quite mindless, but in a way that it's still exciting because it's not just stockinette. And it's fingering weight yarn. This is by the Fibre Fox. I think it's called Frosted Seaglass. I think I've got 2 strands of this. Is that how much I need? No, I must have 3 strands. Otherwise I did not buy enough yarn. I think I've got 3. But yeah, so this has been just a really nice project because I'm currently just on my first skein. It's really nice for train knitting. So I started it when I was in Austria and worked on it in the car, worked on it in the train, also worked on it a bit on the underground in London, because eventually The Primavera got too big to take with me. The Illuminate sweater was already too big. And while I did work on the Spice cardigan on the train from York to London, it then also just got a bit big, and the colour work isn't the easiest on the tube. This was even tricky on the tube sometimes when it got really like rattly. But that's another thing I've just kind of been working on, just when it's tucked in my bag and I'm out and about. I'm not working on it actively, it's just to have another project. And that is the 4 projects I've got with me. Sorry, I'm just watching Akila try to get on here because you're like seeing all the yarn move and he's like, can I be involved? So he might be making his way over here. Those are the projects. Let's talk purchases, because I helped out Georgie and Ben from the Fibre Fox at Yarndale. So not only did I get to go to Yarndale for Saturday and Sunday, I got to help out with the like setting up and taking everything down, and I had so much fun. Like, I was tired by the end of it because I was helping with the vending as well, so talking to people about what yarn they could use for a project, how much they'll need, things like that. So I did so much talking. I was exhausted by the end of it. It's a lot of standing around as well. But of course I made a few purchases. Now I don't have pretty much any of my Yarndale purchases with me. The only one I do is a project bag that I got. No, Akila, you're bumping my camera. Stop it. Is a medium project bag with these pigs on it. So cute. So that's where I've been keeping my Spice cardigan. Well, it's not mine, is it? It's just the Spice cardigan I've been working on. And I really love Geordie's bags. They're made really well by her mum. I love the drawstring. There's also stitch markers in here. And I just think pigs are really cute. Especially my favourite ones are the spotty ones, because they've got sleepy eyes. So I really love that. So that was a purchase at Yarndale, and the rest I'll show in a future video. But while in London, of course, I had to go to some of the knitting shops. So I tried to go to Loop. They were closed. So I only looked at it from the outside, and while it would have been nice to touch everything and look at everything, I'm like, a lot of the stuff in Loop I find is quite expensive, and I'm like, it's okay, I haven't bought from them online before. I'm like, there wasn't that much of a connection to the shop. But I did go to Tribe Yarns in Richmond because it's not too far away with the tube from where I'm currently staying, and I bought a few bits. The first thing is the Skein of Yarn Hero. This is a sport weight one, 100% merino, non-superwash, and it's so similar style-wise to dyed in the wool spin cycle yarn. And there's some sport weight yarn I have that I want to use for a colourwork jumper, and I've been looking for a contrast colour, and I thought this would work quite well with it. We'll see. Otherwise I will be using a different sport weight colourwork jumper. But so that was quite exciting, and it's about half the price, I think, of the spin cycle, because you get 100 grams in this one instead of the 50. Like, totally, I think it can be totally worth it with the spin cycle, but I haven't been able to make that splurge yet for me. And then one of the other things I bought there's a few other bits, but they can wait for future things. I showed some Newton yarn I bought quite a while ago in this kind of purple colour, and I said I wanted to knit the tulip sweater by Melody Hoffman, but I needed a mohair because I didn't have enough Newton to hold it double. And then I said, well, maybe, because I was struggling to find a mohair that would work well with it, I was like, well, maybe I can hold it single, maybe I can still meet gauge, because I know people had issues. But I was like, well, you know what, I'm going to a yarn show. I found nothing at Yarndale. I looked. But I brought some of the Newton yarn with me. A lot of it's felted because it's been in my bag for so long. But at Tribe Yarns, I pulled it out, and with the help of one of the sales assistants there, eventually settled on this yarn here. So you can see, hopefully, there is that purple in there, which matches really nicely. But then there's also a lot of other colours. And I was like, you know what? I think that would look really amazing in a jumper, especially the tulip sweater. So one of them's already caked up because they had that already in stock. I was like, sure, I'll take it. So I think, so you can see this bit's a bit more green, but there are bits that are more purple. And I think it's going to mesh so well in those situations and then kind of stand out a bit more in others. And I'm hoping it will just be really beautiful. I've bought enough mohair for it. So here's hoping. But this is Art Yarns, and it's 60% kid mohair, 40% silk. It's only 25 grams and comes with 300 meters. So yardage wise, it's actually quite good considering it's 25 grams. It wasn't the cheapest, but I think it's going to work really well. And I didn't need too many because I'm going to make a crop tulip sweater. So there's a few other bits I bought at Tribe, but I'm going to share those in the future. Then I went to the knitting and stitching show on the Friday with Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl, which was really nice because we've talked quite a bit on Instagram and stuff, but then it was nice to actually meet up in person and just share our love of knitting and yarn, and it was incredible. There wasn't too much yarn. There were a couple of stalls, but it was a lot of fabric, a lot of kind of other more stitching related things, which was really cool. There was some incredible artwork as well, which was just blew both of us away. But Georgie from the Fibre Fox was there, and I couldn't believe it. I walked away without buying anything, mainly because I bought quite a bit of yarn down. So I think I was kind of like, don't do it, Nina. But I did, Jess from Pigment and Ply was there, and I picked up a skein of this, which is Tennyson, 100% superwash merino, 400 meters per 100 grams. I love Jess's colours. This is the second time I've purchased from her. And I like the fact that a lot of her yarns, I think especially for her like Mystery Sock Club, she bases it on paintings like The Lady of Shalott and things like that. And I just think it's so beautiful. And she had a sample of this yarn knitted up with some green mohair, and it looked amazing. And I have got some green mohair. I've also got some green suri. And I was like, I could hold it with that. Or even just try and knit it up by itself and make a hat or some mittens or something, or even just using the yoke of a colorwork jumper. So there's a couple of options with this skein, but I think that's absolutely beautiful. And then Weku Yarns was there as well. So that's when I wanted to give Lydia the jumper, but it just wasn't going to happen. I ended up talking too much to people that I wasn't knitting the whole time, even though Sophie and I for a couple of hours actually sat down and were just talking and knitting to each other. And then we both kind of said, we haven't had lunch. We also haven't looked at everything yet. Shall we wander again? And had some really nice food. But yes, I stopped at Waco Yarns quite a few times and picked up a few bits because I knitted little swatches of the new collection, which is Disney inspired. Highly recommend checking out the Instagram because it's not just your average, like, I shouldn't say average, that makes it sound bad, but it's not just, you know, your Disney princesses from the actual animated shows and things that they've used as inspiration. If you check it out, you'll see what I mean. Absolutely beautiful how they've done things. But I've picked up Dare to Dream, which is their Cinderella colour, and I've got Almost There as well. But yeah, I was knitting up the swatches and I was like, cool, well, I've got a shopping list now. There's a few other bits I picked up as well, but once again I want to save that for another time. But I just wanted to share these two. And their new collection is wonderful. I also love their normal range as well of yarn. It's just, I love the inspiration that they use, and it's just something really different from what I've seen in the hand-dyed community. And it's just incredible. And both Lydia and Hannah are incredible people as well. So I got to meet both of them in person as well, which was really nice. And then the last thing I want to share is something that Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl actually talked about on her Instagram, and I wanted to quickly share it here as well, is she shared that Flying Tiger has knitting journals, and I have picked up not just one, a few, because I wanted multiple ones. I also wanted to get one for my mum, and then she was like, can I have a second one? And because I'm down in London, where there actually are Flying Tigers, I picked up a few while I was here and just wanted to kind of show it off a bit. So it's a ring binder, which I think is really cool. And the way that it's organized is with your projects. You've got little slots here where you can put in a small picture. So there's like little incisions here so you can slip a picture in. And you can just write stuff about the yarn you've used, the pattern that you're making and everything. And here you can either put a gauge swatch or just like bits of the yarn that you've maybe got left over, so you can remember what it was, the ball bands, anything like that. And you've got plenty of those. And then you've got a little thing where you've got these holes here. I don't know if you can see them. Maybe. There's little holes that you can like punch out. Well, they're already punched, you just need to press them out. And you can weave some yarn through and write like what you maybe want to use it for, or you know, if you want to buy more of it. So I really like that feature. And then you've just got some small square paper, big square paper for whatever you want to use it for. You've got, I think there's one other thing before this. Maybe not. You've got a little gauge measurement thing in centimeters and inches. And my favorite thing, bust measurements, where you can enter it not just for yourself, but for other people as well. So like the gift knits I'm doing, it would be really nice to have this for a couple of my friends that I like knitting for. And you've got both things like hands and wrists, ankles and feet, but also just kind of general measurements you need for jumpers and things like that. So I really like that, because then it means I can actually knit something for people without having to ask them beforehand, what size are you? And I can just do it as a surprise. Now, obviously that depends on your friends being okay with their measurements being, you know, shared with you. Some people don't like that, but I think all of my friends are actually okay with it, because they know they're getting something out of it, and that I don't judge them for their size, because, well, you shouldn't, should you? Then it's got abbreviations, and this is beautiful for me. It has a space that perfectly matches up with all those abbreviations, where you can write them for another language. So if you like, for example, Norwegian knitting patterns and you want to start learning how to read those, then you can put that kind of information in there. But for me, it's really handy for my German videos, because then I can just have them near me in case I forget them, because I forget them quite often. Some of them I can remember, but some of the other ones I just never use. Then there's a needle size converter, that's kind of standard, some washing instructions. Then also like little things where you can just put some inspiration about shops you'd like to look at, websites and things like that. And there's a few other bits I forgot to show. And there's a pocket here as well. So it was £5 from Flying Tiger. I'm trying to encourage everyone to buy them, because I'm hoping it will be a permanent thing that will always be around if everyone's buying them. That is my hope. So like I said, I've picked up a few. I think it's also that the design is just so simple. It's a really nice size. And what I also like is the fact that it is a ring binder, which means if this does get full, you can always kind of stash some of the bits away in another ring binder, or, you know, just move things around between different ring binders and stuff. And because if you start putting swatches in, it's going to get pretty thick. So I'm out of focus. Lovely. But yeah, so if you've got a paper tiger near you, I've checked and I couldn't find them online. So I didn't find them online, so it is an install thing. But you know, if you know people who live near Flying Tiger, maybe they can get you one or two. And I think especially for £5, it's like absolutely amazing what you're getting in there. And it's just so perfectly designed for knitters in mind, in my opinion. Especially the whole gauge swatch thing. Because even if you don't gauge swatch, or you don't keep your gauge swatch, I think it can still be nice to, for example, keep the ball band in there, or keep like a sample of the yarn in there, so that if you ever want to make something with it again, you have a little reference bit of what it looked like. And you can also obviously put in what needle size you used and things like that. And I just think that's really nice. And it makes me want to gauge swatch more and keep all of them, instead of unraveling them like I always do. So that is me quickly rushing through all the knitting I've got with me, and things I've purchased recently. And future videos, I'll share the bits I've been working on since I last recorded. As like I said, it wasn't these, that they've all been very new. And I'll also share some of the purchases I've made also since my last video, share my Garndale stuff, knitted and orders I've received, and a few other bits. And I'm hoping to record more frequently now that I've finished writing my PhD thesis, and just make the videos a bit shorter. So this one was shorter just naturally because I only had so much with me to share. But I also just want to try and keep the videos a bit shorter so it's easier for me to film more often, because I really love filming and it just makes me sad that it's been so long since I've done it. And I think it's also nice, like I enjoy it when people upload more because I just want to hear updates on what they're doing, what have they bought, what are they currently thinking about knitting. So I'm hoping to also bring back some of the other videos I've done other than the podcast. And I've got a couple of other ideas that I'm hoping I'll now have time for. But obviously there is my move to Germany, so I need to pack everything up. Packing up my yarn stash is not going to be fun, especially because I don't want anyone to see it. I shouldn't be embarrassed, but in some ways it is just, I struggled with lockdown and I bought yarn to make me happy. And justified it by going, well, you know, it's keeping me happy and healthy mental health wise. And it's like, can't use that excuse all the time. But I've got my PhD defense, my Viva, next week. So that might be, I might not record until after that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens the next time I film. And what else did I want to say? I don't think there really was anything. But so you should still get at least 1 or 2 videos from me when I'm in York. But I've even moved within the apartment I'm in. I've moved into the smaller bedroom because friends of mine have moved into the bigger bedroom who are taking over the apartment from me. So the setup and everything's already really different. My normal knitting chair has been sold because I don't want to take any furniture with me because it's just expensive and unnecessary. But yeah, so there will be future videos. We'll see how it goes over the next little while. I haven't really got that much to do other than packing once I've finally figured out the company and when I'm moving. And once I've had my Viva, it's just the corrections, but I'll have a few months to do that. And then I'll be starting my postdoc soon, so I need to also organise all of that. But there should be a lot more time for me to record more and share my knitting, which will be nice. But as usual, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. I do not care. Just be honest. I'd love to hear how everyone's been doing. Have you been knitting a lot? The West Knits MCAL started. I've seen some people doing it. I am not a huge West Knits fan. I think some of his designs are really beautiful, but it's just not wearable for me, even with some of the brighter colours that I enjoy. And it's mainly the amount of texture that he includes, which just isn't for me. I like bits, but it's all just kind of too much for me. But I like seeing what everyone gets up to in the colour combos and how it just takes over kind of Instagram and the knitting community. So I'd love to hear if you're doing it and how it's been going. I know some people haven't enjoyed some parts of it. But yeah, just would love to hear how you're getting on. What are you currently knitting on? Are you doing any gift knitting for Christmas? If you celebrate Christmas. Or are you just gift knitting in general? Because mine aren't. The gift knits I'm doing aren't Christmas presents at all. They're just kind of, I care about you presents. But yeah, so subscribe. So you can, it's the easiest way to keep up with when a new video comes out. I've been watching a few new podcasts, which I'll talk about either next podcast video or I might do a separate video because I know not everyone is interested in hearing about podcasts. And I will see you soon. Back in York. Or maybe I'll be somewhere else and film there. Who knows what will happen. But thank you so much for watching. And that's it. That's the end of the video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Can't wait to hear from you. And hopefully I'll be filming again soon. Bye.